If you're a tech nerd and you're looking into a portable, high-quality display with color-accurate pixels, 240Hz, all for $500, look somewhere else. But if you're looking for a portable dual monitor setup to increase your overall productivity on the go, then you might have come to the right video. Might have. This model here is the UPerfect 18.5-inch Delta Max. It comes in a 16-inch, 18.5-inch, and about 24-inch screen sizes, and a touch and non-touch version for the 18.5-inch size. What I love about the monitor is the form factor. But let's unbox it first. The box comes with two USB-C cables, one of them for power delivery, two mini HDMIs to HDMI cables, a power brick, and of course, the monitor itself. The build quality is actually very good. It's built with aluminum and has a very sturdy hinge for its stand. The hinge can hold the monitor in pretty much any position, which definitely impressed me. For those of you interested in the specs, here it is on the screen. So the monitor is relatively easy to use. You don't need to download any drives or anything. Just plug and play. You can actually use it without the power supply, which is great, but it's going to drain your battery a lot and can only go up to 50% brightness. I think this is due to the limitations of how much power one USB-C port can supply from the MacBook. I would recommend you plug it in if you can, because this way the monitor can actually charge the laptop. There are 4 display modes. Both clone mode and expansion seem to do the same thing. Sequence and standalone are the most useful. I prefer standalone because it's easier to snap your tabs when each monitor is separate from one another. But this requires 2 cables or ports, which may require an extra hub depending on your setup. I'm a little disappointed that the cables are so short. At around only 46 inches long, I can't even place the laptop on the right side if I wanted to use the HDMI port. The ports come on the left side of the monitor, so take that into consideration when you're deciding where your computer or your laptop will be. In terms of a real case use, this 18.5-inch dual screen monitor has plenty of real estate for productivity. I love the ergonomics of the screen because the hinge allowed me to place the monitor at head height. For editing, I can use the bottom screen for the timeline and the top for editing controls. And then the laptop screen can be the preview for my edit. I can also have Spotify on the bottom, YouTube at the top, maybe my script on the right side. As someone that has chosen the larger 16-inch MacBook over the 14-inch, it's obvious that I prefer the larger size over the 16-inch one. I feel this extra real estate is extremely beneficial, and I would not want to go any smaller. But I'm also someone that doesn't work in public areas with my laptop a lot. So if that's you, maybe the 16-inch would be the better size. Color accuracy is not this monitor's strong suit. The 1080 FHD screen is great if you're not planning on doing any sort of color accurate work. Side by side to the MacBook Pro, you can notice a huge drop in quality between the two. But as a standalone monitor for general content viewing and general work, it's perfectly fine. But since I have the option when I do any sort of color grading or even just watching general media, I tend to keep that on the MacBook Pro screen. On paper, the contrast ratio on the MacBook is 1,000,000 to 1, whereas a UPerfect monitor is only 1,000 to 1. Not very good. I haven't tried out the Pro version myself, but I would imagine the extra 4K resolution and the slight bump in contrast ratio wouldn't be a difference you would notice between the non-Pro and the Pro model. If you've never used a MacBook Pro monitor, you might not know what you're missing out on. In that case, this monitor is perfectly fine for you. The 100Hz is nice to have on the large screen. It's close enough to my 120Hz on the MacBook Pro that I don't really notice a difference between the two. If you're looking for an even higher refresh rate for gaming, they have gaming monitor options out there. At around 300 nits brightness, it's not super bright, but it's still perfectly fine in a well-lit room. However, with any direct sunlight, I find it's not quite bright enough. The matte screen is a nice touch and does help to reduce reflections. The M1 MacBook peaks at 500 nits without HDR, which is quite a bit higher, but not as noticeable of a difference as a contrast ratio. I will also mention that the viewing angles for the monitor isn't the best, as you can see here. If you're looking to get this type of monitor, I feel portability is not as important to you. If you're someone that works in cafes all the time, you'd probably look for a single monitor, something a little more low-key. Whereas this dual monitor is great for using as a semi-permanent setup. Say you're traveling for work and you're staying in a hotel or Airbnb for a couple weeks, this would be perfect for it. At around 5 pounds, it's definitely not light, and I wouldn't want to carry it around my backpack all the time, but it's a slim form factor that makes it really easy to bring on trips. I found it handy and even set up my own little workspace when staying over at friends or Airbnbs. There are also built-in speakers, which I kind of question why it's even there, because the quality is so poor.
Then what happens? Work with me, son.
But I believe it was put in there for when you are not using your laptop. So what's my overall take? With a hefty price tag of $500, I think it's quite overpriced. I can get two 18-inch portable monitors with around the same specs for $150 each, which means I'm paying roughly $200 just for them to be packaged together. I would have loved to see a higher brightness and contrast ratio on the screen to a point where it's somewhat comparable with newer monitors and laptops like the Macbook Pro, or maybe even a wireless version. If that was the case, then I think the price tag could be justified. But nonetheless, there's always a target demographic for these products. If you're someone that travels for work and finds yourself in short-term rentals a lot, I think this monitor is worth it for you. Or if your workspace doesn't have the width to support a wide monitor, utilizing the vertical space in this form factor is also a great idea. The monitor does have screw holes for a VESA mount, which is great if you want to use a monitor arm. Will you be checking this monitor out? If you have it already, let me know what your experience has been with it. Thanks for watching.